Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something a bit different, a narrative called Arin and the Mountain of Dreams.
Right, and not just reading a story. We're looking at it as, well, almost a masterclass in strategy.
Exactly. So if you're listening for those, really actionable insights on hitting big goals, maybe goals that take years,
Then this story, surprisingly, has a lot to offer.
it does. We're sort of looking past the surface story, a 10-year-old boy climbing a mountain and treating it like a blueprint.
hmm A blueprint for persistence, for achieving something massive.
Okay, so the basic setup is pretty straightforward, but also kind of epic. Arin, this young boy, decides he's going to climb this incredibly tall, misty mountain near his village, wants to touch the clouds.
And immediately he hits that first wall, doesn't he? The reaction from his...
Yeah, total skepticism. They
Yeah.
just tell him straight up, it's too high for a kid like you. Classic dream-crushing moment.
But that doubt, that's actually our starting point for this deep dive. It sets everything in motion. We're not just, talking about a fairy tale. We're analyzing a framework.
Yeah.
We're going to break down these three, let's call them pillars, that Arin uses.
Pillars he used to make this seemingly impossible dream real.
Exactly. Strategic practice, taking immediate action when needed, and then this kind of internal realization at the end.
And altogether, they show something fundamental, right?
Yeah, they show that really determination and courage, applied courage, are what truly matter for overcoming, well, any big obstacle.
Okay, let's get into that first pillar then. Preparation. Arin didn't just, run at the mountain.
No, he was smarter than that. He knew, maybe intuitively, that you don't aim for the summit right away.
So what did she do? The story talks about a training program, almost. Deliberate, step by step.
He used the smaller hills around his village. Tell us about that daily routine. What was actually going on there?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is that his first efforts weren't about winning or succeeding. It was almost about,
Risk reduction. Learning through failing safely.
Exactly. Failing safely. He treated those small hills like a lab.
Yeah. The source mentions specific micro skills he was working on.
Right, like reading the wind patterns, figuring out how to balance on slippery logs, where to put his feet on loose rocks. Tiny details.
Which connects directly to strategy we see today, right?
Yeah.
This idea of, let's call it minimum viable practice, MVP.
Minimum viable practice. I like that. Explain that a bit more.
Well, he's basically iterating on his climbing process, but in an environment where the cost of messing up falling is really low.
Like a scraped knee, maybe?
Exactly. Negligible consequences.
Yeah.
But the feedback he gets is immediate and totally unbiased. He learns instantly what works and what doesn't every single day.
Okay, MVP. That makes sense. And you mentioned failure. The story highlights that his practice wasn't perfect. There were slips, tumbles.
He found paths on those small hills that seemed impossible at first.
So why is that part, the failing part on the small hill, actually more important than just, easily conquering the small hill?
Well, think about it. Success just reinforces what you already know, right? It tells you, okay, that worked. But failure, especially low-stakes failure, it teaches you recovery mechanics, how to adapt, how to fix things on the fly.
Recovery mechanics. Like
Yeah.
how to catch yourself?
Precisely. If you slip on a rock way up high on the real mountain, that's it. It could be catastrophic.
Right.
But slip on a small hill, you learn exactly how your body needs to react, shift your weight, brace yourself, find your balance again, keep going.
Ah, okay. So the insight here isn't just about getting stronger physically.
No, not at all. It's building these internal metrics. Yes, he's building strength, sure, but he's also unconsciously building patience, the patience to wait for the right foothold,
And determination.
and the determination to get right back up after a fall.
Huh.
Those traits, strength, patience, determination, they're honed through those little failures.
And those are the things he really needs when he faces the big mountain with its real dangers, its high-stakes moments.
That's the true foundation,
Yeah.
built not just on success, but on learning from failure.
Okay, so those tiny slips built the mental and physical muscle needed. That sets us up perfectly for the second pillar, application. How do we get from this quiet practice to...
To using those skills. The story gives us a perfect bridge.
How so?
It introduces validation through crisis. All that practice was, theoretical. It was preparation.
Until something real happened.
Exactly. Until he faced a real-world, totally unexpected test. The narrative takes a sharp turn here. A sudden, violent storm hits the village.
Right. The rain, the wind howling. This wasn't part of his climbing plan at all.
No, it was immediate. High pressure, life happening.
And this is where we see that courage kick in, isn't it? Instantly, selflessly.
He spots a baby goat trapped on this dangerous little ledge halfway up one of those hills nearby
And he doesn't think twice, grabs his raincoat, runs out.
and uses all those skills he'd been practicing. The careful stepping, the balancing, reading the wind.
But not for his dream, not for the mountain.
No, purely to help, to guide this scared animal back to safety. It's like a pop quiz from the universe.
And he aced it.
He did. And this is what we could call altruistic skill validation.
Okay, break that down. Altruistic skill validation.
His practice skills were applied successfully, but for kindness, for helping someone else, in a situation completely separate from his personal goal.
And that act proved a few things.
Yeah, 3 key things, I think. First, his skills actually worked under real pressure, under duress. They weren't just theoretical.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, his courage was real. It overrode his own self-preservation instinct in that moment.
And third,
That the skills he'd worked so hard to build actually had a purpose beyond just himself, beyond his own ambition.
and the reaction from others is important here too, isn't it?
Absolutely crucial. The villagers, the village elder, they see what he did. They see this practice skill used for bravery.
And the elder says that line.
You may be young, but your heart is braver than anyone's. That's powerful external validation.
And Arin feels that warm glow. It's not just pride in being a good climber.
No, it's pride in his character, pride in the courage that helped someone else.
So that validation coming from an unexpected selfless act
Yeah.
that really solidified things for him internally.
Yes, it cemented his belief system. He didn't just think he was capable anymore. He knew it deep down.
Wow, that's a really profound link. The skills you build for yourself find their real power, their real test, when you use them for others. And once he had that internal conviction, that validated character, well, then he was truly ready for the mountain.
He was basically unstoppable at that point. He had the confidence, the character needed for the ultimate goal.
So encouraged by that success, the community support, he goes back to climbing, pushing higher, getting closer.
Until finally, after weeks of effort, as the story says, he reaches it.
Describe that final moment for us, standing on the peak, the clouds right there. What did he see? What was the feeling?
Connecting this to the bigger picture, the actual physical achievement, standing up there, seeing the village sparkling below, that was almost secondary.
Secondary, but that was the goal.
It was the goal, externally measured. But the realization he had in that moment, that's the final and maybe the most important strategic lesson here.
Okay. What was the realization?
The true payoff wasn't the view, wasn't touching the clouds. The destination itself just served to validate the entire process he went through. Arin realized his dream wasn't really about the physical mountain anymore. It was about the courage he'd found, the practice he'd put in, the kindness he'd shown along the way.
It was about who he had become.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We call this the rule of self-referential success. The ultimate achievement isn't defined by the destination you reach.
But by the person you had to become to get there.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's translate that. What does this mean for, for you listening right now, chasing some complex goal, maybe in your career or personal life?
Well, Arin's achievement had a lasting ripple effect. It gave people a template.
How so?
His friends were inspired because they didn't just see him succeed. They saw how he succeeded. They saw a process they could potentially copy.
The small steps leading to character growth.
Which leads to courage, which leads to the big goal. He became known not just as the boy who climbed the mountain.
But as the boy who had the character, the heart to do it.
Absolutely. The story is just a really potent reminder that big achievements need both determination, that's the practice, and heart. It's the courage applied, often unexpectedly.
So the steady, low-stakes practice built the base.
Right. The selfless crisis proved the skills under pressure.
And the combination resulted in this personal transformation, which was the real prize.
Yeah. He showed that even the quote-unquote smallest person can tackle the highest peak if they follow that kind of framework.
A really fantastic deep dive. Okay, let's quickly summarize the 3 big strategic takeaways from Arin's journey.
Sure.
First, that's strategic prep. It relies on what you called minimum viable practice.
Mastering skills through those safe, low-stakes failures.
Second, real confidence often comes through altruistic skill validation.
Using those hard-won skills spontaneously, for a selfless reason. It proves them and you in a different way.
And third, success is ultimately defined by self-referential success.
Recognizing that the journey, the process of becoming who you needed to be, that's the real goal, not just checking the box at the destination.
Which really brings us to a final thought for everyone listening.
Yeah, this raises, I think, a really important question. Arin inspired his friends. He showed them that things like size or age, they don't really determine what you're capable of.
Courage and preparation do.
Exactly. So if you've built the toolkit, if you've done the practice, what seemingly impossible mountain have you been avoiding?
Maybe because other people, or even you yourself, have bought into the idea that you're too small, too young, too inexperienced.
Right. Take this framework we've talked about. Find your own small hills. Start building the skills and, maybe more importantly, the character required for your summit.